And Jack, I'm not sure if he can hear us or not, but I think he's in the Jacksonville area. He's right in the middle of that really bad storm. If you're with us, Jack, let us know kind of what you're seeing there. Not sure if he can hear us or not, but boy, you can just tell he is right there in the thick of things in Jacksonville right now with that severe thunderstorm. Now there's actually a severe thunderstorm warning on the south side of town there, and then the tornado warning is kind of there on the north side of town that we've got. Okay, so this is a potential life-threatening situation here with a tornado warning that is in effect as that storm is going to be crossing over right there. There's a couple different areas, and we're kind of looking at this from the velocity scope. We're kind of looking at these reds and greens and looking at where some of these winds may be kind of turning here. And I tell you what, it is right there along Highway 78 on the north side of Jacksonville that I would be concerned about the potential for a tornado that could quickly develop. So definitely you need to be keeping a close eye on things if you are there in Jacksonville. And then kind of down the line, as we said, so this storm is going to miss Springfield. It is going to go north and west of Springfield, but what we are going to be having to monitor are going to be the additional storms that could be heading in our direction here before too long. Again, there's that view of those storms. Just take a look. Barely can see anything with that. And I don't know if we have Jack again there or not, but just let me know in my ear if Jack is there from an audio perspective. Okay, so we're just going to see. I mean, look at that. I mean, driving heavy rainfall, and he is going to be really close to where there potentially could be an embedded tornado that is in that as well. He is in the S&K storm tracker out there right now, and you can see the lightning. The windshield wipers are probably on full blast with that storm. So we've got our chasers that are out there. They're on the storms. They're letting us know what they're seeing with this and giving us that first-hand kind of view of what these storms are. And just to give you kind of perspective here, I know there's a lot of you watching in other parts of the viewing area tonight, from Champaign to Decatur to Danville, all the way down to Taylorville. This could be a long night. This is just the beginning. This is the first of what I think is going to be many warnings that we're going to have here as we go throughout tonight. So what we'll do here, Jacob is here with us. And Jacob, again, this is the beginning. Multiple warnings probably going to go into effect here, and there is a tornado watch that you're going to talk about as well that goes until very late tonight.
Yeah, you're right about that here, so we'll flip over and have the game right there for you and talk about it. First off, there's a lot of folks in the area that are not under any warnings, but there's a couple watches out there. We'll break it down for you and let you know what's going on. Of course, we do have the Bears game. That's on the left side of your screen. We will keep it there as much as we can. What I want to mention here is that we're watching this massive storms to the west of Springfield. There's a lot of real estate ahead of it here. And if you've been watching the forecast through the weekend, you know the warm front has been key. That warm front now is lifting north with these storms here, and that's going to cause more problems downstream towards Springfield, eventually Decatur, and we'll watch and see how far north it gets, and that's going to be the big question for us here as we move on through. I want to look at radar scope a little bit and take another view of things. We like to look at the storms with as many ways as possible, whether it's our storm tracker Doppler, whether it's radar scope, the WCIA3 weather app, all great ways to help analyze the storms for you as the atmosphere very conducive for severe weather and tornadoes today. That's something that's a bit concerning. The game now has been taken off. We're in commercial break. We'll bounce back and forth and make sure that we're covering all facets of today, giving you the game, giving you severe weather coverage for those folks that are in the path as these storms continue to move to the east. We look here. This is a look at the warned area. Just for some reference points, right here sits Virginia and Cass County. Down here, there's Jacksonville. We're looking off to the east. There's Springfield right here. This storm is to the west and to the north slightly of Jacksonville at this point. The city of Jacksonville and points to the north are under that tornado warning. It does not include areas in South Jacksonville, though. It also does not include out by Jacksonville Prison. Primarily, the concern now is to the north of Jacksonville as you head on the highway up towards Virginia where this storm is crossing. There's some heavy rain in the city of Jacksonville right now and likely a little hail now mixing in there. That'd be just south of the county line in northern Morgan County and southern Cass County where this warning goes until 6:30. The time now, for reference, is 6:22. So we'll likely get an update here on that. So that's something that we're going to watch and keep our eyes on. Bigger picture, severe thunderstorm warnings are included in here. And if you're getting alerts on your WCIA3 weather app in these areas, this is the place that we'd see them there. So that's something that we're going to continue to watch. We look at as many ways as we can, not only with radar, but we also look as many ways as we can directly at the storm, whether it's our sky cams or our storm trackers that are out there. We've got 3 different teams bringing you coverage like no one else does in this area. We've got meteorologist Jack Griffin in the storm tracker. We've also got my dad, Dan Dickey, and Marty Nuss. They're watching things in the same storm. And then we've got Max Claypool. He's watching for us as well to give us an eye on the ground. And if we need to go to them, we will with what reports they may bring. And we'll likely hear from Jack here in a little bit before all is said and done. So that is what we're looking at here across the area. Let's talk about the tornado risk. That storm sitting near Jacksonville is right where the best ingredients are for that. You can see the risk here on a scale of 1 to 7. That is the area where the storm will be moving off to the north and to the east here, and right along that warm front boundary. Champaign, Mattoon, Effingham, it's going to be a couple of hours before storms get here, but as that warm front lifts to the north, that's going to help bring in that more humid, unstable air into place. For areas further north, probably going to end up more stable, cooler with the rain in place. We just have to watch as that could lift to along maybe just north of Interstate 72, 74. So that's where our risk is, a 7 out of 10. Tornado watch goes in effect for the counties in yellow. That's going to be essentially everyone except for our Indiana counties, and it does not include McLean, Ford, Iroquois, Livingston counties either. Everyone else watching in the area is under this watch, and that goes through 1 a.m. And we'll watch not only this line of storms come through, but more are expected to develop later on this evening and tonight into the area after there potentially. So we're going to watch that and keep an eye on things here. This is something we haven't talked a lot about, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit. The risk for flooding and flash flooding. The Weather Prediction Center has placed a 3 out of 4, a moderate risk in the areas in red. That's to the north of the warm front. If you watched my forecast throughout the weekend, you know that's where the heaviest rain is going to fall, and we still expect a couple of more inches, if not a little higher than that, into the area. So that's something that we'll continue to monitor. And then the flash flood watch includes those same areas. We'll watch that generally along the north of Interstate 72. It doesn't mean areas to the south are not going to get rain, though, Kevin. But what it does mean is there will still be some rain, maybe not as much as areas to the north where it's been a long summer for some folks in McLean and Ford County. And so we'll be watching that part of the storm system as well a little closer. Overall, the focus right now for us is this tornado warning in Morgan and Cass County. For a couple of more minutes, we'll find out what the National Weather Service is doing and keep updated with things here. So we'll go ahead and send it back to Kevin here with more information on what we're looking at now. Kevin?
All right, so that storm that we are really keeping a close eye on here is now northeast of Jacksonville, the worst part of that storm northeast of Jacksonville. And you can see it's north of I-72. So if you have people, friends, family that are out there traveling on I-72, that storm is going to be north of the interstate now, especially the most severe part of that. Now, they're talking about some really strong winds with this as it's coming through. And I got to tell you, when we look at this, so this is going to be near the Littleberry area, heavy rainfall. We saw Jack, and you can see on the right side of your bottom right-hand corner of your screen is Jack, who is in the storm track. You can see, look at that constant lightning that he's got there. And the top part of your screen there in the upper right-hand corner is going to be our camera in Springfield, where that storm is going to be out there to the west. But just look at that lightning from Jack's live camera view in the SNK series storm tracker, giving us that view of that storm as he was in the Jacksonville area. So he's probably now kind of getting out of Jacksonville. So that tornado warning is still in effect here. We're going to see if they continue this off to the north and the east, but we're going to have to be watching. I want to watch this other little notch that's down here on the south, kind of south of Sinclair, just north of I-72, almost right on the interstate there. There's a little bit of a hook there that I really want to keep a close eye on with that, because as that goes to the north and to the east here, this is along this warm front where there's spin. We've got a real good spin in the atmosphere right along there. And this is on the southern end of this whole line. You can see this line that extends all the way up towards Peoria, but we call this one on the south end, a lot of times we call them kind of the tail end Charlie. The one there on the south oftentimes can really tap into all of the dynamics that allow these storms to rotate, the instability, the wind shear. And so they're kind of down there on their own, and that's where I'm going to be watching that. And we'll see if this carries on with another tornado warning. But this whole orange box that you see here is a severe thunderstorm warning with what's called a tornado possible tag, which means, yes, there is that potential for that. Let's take Jack's shot here, because there's a lot of lightning. I'm seeing just a ton of cloud to ground lightning that is showing up with that. I mean, just look at that. As you can see, I mean, that's almost a lightning strike every second. I mean, it is constant lightning in his location there as he's traveling into that very, very heavy rainfall. It is now 6:28, which means that, hey, the sun has set, and now it makes it very difficult to see these storms, especially to try to delineate, is there a tornado in there at nighttime? It becomes even more dangerous. So definitely you need to be taking shelter from these storms, staying home, getting to where you need to go, just kind of hunkering down, because this is the beginning of what could be several rounds of severe storms that we're going to have here as we go throughout the course of tonight. But right now it is our far western edge of our viewing area that is getting this. So we're going to watch this go up towards eventually the Petersburg area. This is west of Springfield, but the big question is will our line continue to develop further to the south? And I think that eventually is going to happen. And a new warning here also coming out, and it's an interesting warning in a new location. Jacob, you've got that.
Yeah, we want to talk a little bit about this new warning that's in place here, and we're looking at this now for Champaign and McLean and Vermilion counties. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. The reason this warning was issued, there's been some trees reported down in Bloomington here, and so that's been a problem for us. And so these don't look all that impressive on radar here, but there's enough wind energy mixing down to the ground where we may have some wind damage coming for places like Colfax, Sibley, Gibson City, Leroy, and Hayworth. And we may want to take a look at our Gibson City camera here in a moment to see what's going on there. The warning does not include Champaign-Urbana, but you likely got the alert if you're in the county, the same county as a warning. You normally get notified by that. It's the US 136 corridor. That's the southern extent of that. That's going to include from Leroy out towards Bellflower and Fisher and Rantoul and Penfield, and it does barely clip Vermilion County. Danville not included in that here. So that's something we want to mention about that storm to the north really quick as we continue to watch. So I did want to mention that real quick before we got too far along. The thing about this storm, and I'll show you on radar scope again here, the warm front is still to the south of it here, but we're getting just enough ingredients mixing in where some wind and some hail can come down towards the ground. And so that is for McLean and Champaign counties, and we may see a severe thunderstorm warning for Ford County. The tornado threat in those areas, I'm fairly certain, is about as low as you can get. However, we're seeing some of those winds mix on down here. It looks kind of messy. More outflow winds coming with this particular storm compared to that other storm down there. And so we will watch those areas as well to keep an eye on it with that new severe thunderstorm warning. This is north of Champaign-Urbana. This is north and west of Danville. Does not include either of those metropolitan areas. It mainly is that northern sliver of Champaign County along US 136. While we're at it, Kevin, real quick, it looks like they may have dropped that tornado warning. I wanted to take a look at one thing that did concern me a little bit here. What we're looking at is this is a product called correlation coefficient. We oftentimes can look and see if there's debris being detected, but something that caught my eye with this particular look here, this is for the storm now. There's Ashland. Springfield is to the south and east here. What I noticed is that we actually had some of these blue colors showing up. That, to me, not an indication of a tornado debris signature. That's not what that is. What it is an indication, though, is strong inflow winds pulling into this storm, and I think that means that we may not be finished with this storm from a tornado potential moving forth as long as it's able to ride the warm front. It is feeding here. We're able to detect some of those non-meteorological samples. A lot of times that inflow really cranking on in. So that's something that I did notice there, Kevin, that I wanted to talk about, and I'll let you go ahead and talk more about that new warning that's extended for this particular storm, which really has quite a look to it right now, doesn't it, Kevin? Yeah,
okay, so it is, and it is really starting to, take shape a little bit. The storm is going to kind of cycle a little bit, and that's kind of happening. As Jacob was pointing out, that inflow, basically, you got these winds here, you're going to start to kind of pull into the storm, and we're going to have to watch, okay, as we were talking about earlier, on the south kind of end of this, but this brand new severe thunderstorm warning now does include Springfield. Okay, you're on the kind of on the southeastern corner of this, as this maybe starts to turn a little bit and ride along the warm front, which is literally almost kind of based right along I-72 there. And so in just to the north of that. So this storm is going to head here to the east. Ashland right now, you guys are getting hit pretty good with that storm coming in. But down the line, there's Petersburg, Farmingdale, and Springfield as that storm is going to be coming in. Let's kind of show you the loop on this. And you can see over the last 30 minutes how that storm is continuing to kind of make a northeasterly, but almost a little bit of an easterly jog as well. So Springfield, you need to be kind of paying attention to this. There's the New Berlin area along I-72. These are fast-moving storms, too, and that's the thing. These things are booking it sometimes between 40 and 50 miles per hour, so really, really fast-moving storms. And as Jake was mentioning with that storm up there, that is well north of the front right now. You've still got that potential for some winds, and they actually had some reports of some damage, I believe, over around the Downs area earlier, and that's why I think they've issued this severe thunderstorm warning with that, because those storms that are up into the McLean County area and near Downs, they've had some reports of that. So we're watching that, but obviously you can just tell with your own eyes, bright reds here. That's going to be the worst of it. And these are the ones that there could still be a potential tornado embedded in this line here. So definitely taking shelter if you are there into northwestern portions of Sangamon County from Farmingdale, New Berlin, Sherman. You guys are under that severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to be in effect here. Let's see, that new warning in effect until 7:30 p.m. for Cass, Mason, Menard, Morgan, Sangamon, and Tazewell counties. So 7:30 p.m., that's a whole hour for that. So several counties here impacted by this. And again, what we're going to be watching for, I just want to show you this real quick, because I know some of you are going, okay, what about the rest of us? We have additional storms are going to be firing out here out across Missouri and heading in our direction there as well. Let's show Jack's shot there once again, because he is, just look at that lightning. We've talked about it this whole time. The lightning on this storm is just really, really intense, as you can see with that. Just constant lightning. We can show you that on the radar here as well. We'll just throw on the lightning strikes on that. And each one of these little icons here showing the light, you can see just how many lightning strikes are really located with this. And this stretches all the way up here to the north. This goes up towards the, like I said, the Peoria area. And then the storms there into Bloomington as well have quite a bit of lightning. But that storm down there, and you can see it just on his screen there. And again, you may lose his signal there. He's obviously in some very rough weather, as we're seeing. And if we can, guys, if Jack ever actually gets on the line with us, let us know if he's able to talk to us here, if he's ever able to make contact. And we've got his picture. We don't have his audio here right now, but we're going to be checking in with him here pretty soon as well. And so Jacob, who is familiar with the area he's about to talk about, Gibson City is actually not under this severe thunderstorm warning right now, but that storm is knocking on their doorstep right now. And Jacob, tell us about the view that you've got there. You've got our camera that's popped up there.
Yeah, we pulled up the Gibson Area Hospital and Health Services camera looking off to the northwest. So here's GCMS Middle School. There's the ambulance barn. This is 19th Street here. This camera, many times before, has brought us views of severe storms, and it's doing it again now. We're getting some reports out of McLean County of some tree damage and power line damage in Downs. We've also had viewer reports of wind damage in Saybrook area, or at least strong winds. And there's a number of those reports that are coming out here where the wind is starting to mix down a little bit. So likely now, looking at radar, Gibson City is getting a good dose of wind here and perhaps some rain with that. This here is a look at the radar. It's a very blotchy looking line. It's not a very solid looking line here. It is something that we'll watch very closely, but the wind is showing signs of mixing down. As I bring up velocity here, you get the idea that it is outflow winds pushing out. The tornado threat here is non-existent in Ford, Champaign, and let me rephrase that, in this particular area at this time. We are seeing the straight line winds that are breezy, probably 50, 60 mile an hour gusts out there for Gibson City to Melvin, maybe up towards Roberts. The warning is for Champaign, McLean counties, and so that's something that we'll watch. Dropping back down here, Kevin, this is that storm that's further down to the south and west. I was kind of watching some things while you were talking a little bit, and I'm starting to see some signs that things may be trying to wrap up a little bit more with that. We look at Storm Tracker Doppler again, and some of this surging coming on in here may be something to watch. But that same area is what came through Jacksonville. That would be the rear flank downdraft wrapping around the circulation and pushing around, helping to tighten it up. We did get reports in Jacksonville now of what was described as significant tree and power line damage on the south side of town. I'm not for sure that was tornado, and that's the National Weather Service job, but looking at the location, it seems like that it would be more likely of straight line, rear flank downdraft winds wrapping around this storm. And so that's something that we'll watch here as this severe thunderstorm warning continues. It may also, Kevin, be trying to sneak a little bit north of the warm front. Something I'll do here in a minute is I'll look at some of those currents and take a look. And if that's the case, then that would be better news. But as we look here, you can see some of these greens and red, nothing immediately obvious, but there are signs of good wind energy in place here. So likely the severe thunderstorm warning will continue for a little while longer. So we've got, just a recap, we've got three different folks, three different crews that are out right now. We've got our news team reaching out to Morgan County. We've got Jack in the storm tracker, we've got Dan and Marty out, and then we've got Max out. Three teams in the field bringing you coverage first, and as we get information from them and they're able to report to us. Cell service is tough in this neck of the woods. I've driven through myself. It's not that great. So we're having a little bit of trouble getting a hold of Jack. We've been texting him, and he doesn't have any damage to report, but he's saying the wind, the lightning, the rain, very heavy in there. And so we may hear from him in a minute, Kevin, but we're going to watch all of these storms very closely. In fact, there's the new tornado warning right there that just popped up. So we talked about how it was wrapping up. This tornado warning now, just issued, is going to include northern Sangamon and southern Menard County here. This is the city of Springfield, downtown Springfield. It will be to the north of you, not by much, the north side of Springfield, Capitol Airport. You head on north here towards Sherman. You've got Petersburg sits here. It'll be south of Petersburg. It's that little circulation that's coming together right here, riding that warm front, very much just to the south and east of Ashland. We're going to watch very closely here, Kevin. So while you're getting more information about it, we'll talk more about who's in, who's out, and who's all clear. I will say at this point, I'd like to give an all clear for Jacksonville, Arcadia, Virginia. Storms now to the east from this route, but more expected later. We'll talk more about that. Kevin, tell us more about this new tornado warning that was just issued.
All right. We've got a radar indicated tornado warning with this storm here, and it is really ramped up just in the past few scans here. Capable producing a tornado right over Pleasant Plains. It is moving to the northeast at 50 miles an hour, and there it is right there. Okay, so you've got this little hook here. This is what we're looking at, okay? This is definitely where we've got rotation. This thing is going to be moving off to the northeast, and it's right along this warm front that we could see a tornado pop up. So there's the Salisbury area. You guys are under this. If we kind of show you the large look at this, is going to be north of the Springfield airport. Let's see if I can't. I'm going to pull up our cameras here again, and we're going to fire up, and we're going to change from the Gibson City camera to the Springfield camera. And there again, you can see the view. So there's already some of the lightning that is showing up with this here. And what I'm going to try to do is maybe kind of focus that a little bit better here, but you can really see the lightning, and hopefully we're going to maybe see some definition to these clouds a little bit. And so here we go. We're just kind of paying this up a little bit. And so as we mentioned, this storm that we're looking right there in that direction. So if you're in Springfield, especially in the northern Sangamon County, the north side of town there, you want to be taking shelter because this storm here is really ramped up. We're seeing the indications here on radar that this thing may produce a tornado very quickly. It has the classic signature showing up there. The tornado warning here in effect. And again, until 7:30 p.m., you need to be taking shelter right now in these locations. So that thing is crossing right over the Pleasant Plains area here right now, and is going to be going up here to the north and to the east. And so that is the area of biggest concern, extreme northwestern portions of Sangamon County. That severe thunderstorm warning also kind of all-encompassing that. But right now, a high threat there right on this edge of this.
I think we've got a tornado down by looking at radar, and I'd like to point that out real quick. On that storm, if you look at velocity and you look at correlation coefficient really fast, in my mind, it's either darn close or it's developing in there. It's in the right general area, something that we're looking at. So, Kevin, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, riding on the borderline, and get some expert opinion on that there. This is that velocity here, and just cut in when you've looked at that, Kevin. Right here, just to the east of Pleasant Plains, what I do is I pull up our debris detector, our correlation coefficient, a minute or two ago here. The scans are coming in pretty quick. right in there, just a smidge of blue. Either it's wrapping around or it's something there. Kevin, I don't know if you took a look.
Yeah.
And we can pull your graphics up and analyze that as well.
Yeah, so here's what we're looking at here. We've got it zoomed in on this, okay? And so Pleasant Plains there, okay, is right there. This blue color here that he's talking about is that correlation coefficient. We call it our debris detector here. And so it does kind of line up with where you might have, where we had some damage here with this. And that's this little blue, these blue pixels here. So that's going to be right there south and east of Pleasant Plains and along Highway 125 there. I think there could have been. Now, the next scan, I kind of lose it a little bit as far as the that debris signature, but definitely on that one scan there is a little bit of that blue, which kind of co-locates with what we call the reflectivity, the velocity there as well. So possibly a brief tornado could have touched down there just south and east of the Pleasant Plains area, which is why they've still got this tornado warning in effect. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch this over, and we're just going to kind of show you this view here. See this area right here? Okay, this is where we would potentially have a tornado here. There's a little bit of a notch that's in there, this inflow that's kind of coming in to the storm, and you start to get a little bit of rotation that's on there. So there's the updated scan. So I'm just going to move it over a little bit, and you can almost kind of see right there, and let's see what this looks like when we switch it over to the velocity there. And so you've got those reds and greens that are kind of close to one another, but we've definitely got a storm here that's got that potential for, a tornado. We may have had one already as well, according to what we're kind of seeing here on radar, but you need to be kind of down the line, really taking a look at things here as well. I think we have Jack. I think we finally have connected with Jack. He's driving around, I think, is he in Jacksonville?
Yeah, we've seen, of course, he's going in and out here a little bit. We've seen some emergency crews in that area. Okay. And so if Jack can hear us, we really want to talk to him at this point. We're kind of working behind the scenes here to kind of analyze some things.
I think I think I've maybe even seen some trees that may have been down. If Jack is there at all, let us know, guys. Otherwise, we're just going to watch his shot there, because we're kind of watching him drive by, where you can definitely see where some trees or some leaves and limbs possibly have been down. You can see all the leaves that are all across the road there. No surprise, because that storm there definitely, as it moved through. I think I'm starting to hear a little bit of Jack, can you hear us? Are you there, Jack?
Kevin, I can hear you. Kevin, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack. What have you been seeing out there? You've been going through some wicked storms.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the Ashland area, and there were emergency crews there that I had to bypass by going through a side street, because there was a tree that was down in the middle of the road there. I'm trying to get to Pleasant Plains, and I'm going to be coming in behind the storm, but that is essentially what I've been noticing, is that with that emergency crews that were there, there was a kind of a big tree that was down in the middle of the road. Like you've been saying, Kevin, the storms have really ramped up. I've seen a lot more cloud-to-ground lightning as I've been driving through, and now I'm just entering Sangamon County. Had some audio issues earlier on with my equipment. That's what kind of put me behind. But I'm now going to essentially be trying to come in from behind the storm. And I got that guy that's passing us there. Very low visibility with these storms, but I think at some point there may have been some strong winds that went through the Ashland area and did create some of that damage. But I'm trying to get into the warned area here. I'll be coming in behind it. It might be a little tough since these are moving quick, but as of right now, the damage that I've seen so far was just that tree that was down in the Ashland area.
All right, Jack, very good. Thank you for the report. Keep letting us know what you're seeing there. You're coming across some really, really bad storms here. Listen, just be careful out there, and let us know what else you may encounter.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this tornado warning. Okay. Tornado warning that is in effect here for Menard and Sangamon County, and this is really kind of a clear area of concern. Okay. This is going to be now south of Salisbury. That's 125 there. Okay. And so you're kind of looking north of that, but right there, here's Springfield for you. The airport's going to be up here, and you're going to see the storm kind of come into northern Sangamon County here in the northwestern corner there. Looks like possibly some more updates here to our warning that are coming in. But let's kind of zoom in. Let's go down to this this area right here. You can really kind of see that right there. This is where you've got that potential tornado here. It's along this warm front. Your rotation is right there. So that's going to be 125. There's 97 there as well. And so that is the area from Salisbury. That's Gardner. But this thing is moving to the north into the east. And let's see if we can see anything on our velocity with this. And on our velocity, so we're kind of looking right there. Some of those reds and kind of greens. This right here, bright returns here, talking about maybe some stronger winds in there as well. But this is the area of concern as this storm is going to be moving off here to the north and to the east with the Highway 28. So it just looks like they kind of updated that warning box a little bit. Probably still seeing right in this area here that rotation that is occurring. If we can back it out just a little bit, we'll put a little bit of a loop on this and kind of show you where this is going, where it has been moving over the last, if we can do it kind of maybe over the last 30 or 45 minutes or so, you can really kind of see the movement of this. But also notice that there are additional storms that are even kind of starting to try to fire behind this as well. And we're going to watch this area to the south because we think this whole area is going to be primed for additional storms to move through with this area here. So now you're looking at also eventually down the line, Logan County, there's Lincoln as well. So this whole line is moving to the north and east. We're still watching that warning here in effect for Champaign County as well and McLean County. But obviously the storm of largest concern is still going to be back there. So here is right there, that little sliver from Fisher over to Penfield where there's that severe thunderstorm warning in effect as this line comes in. Some outflow winds, some strong winds. We had some reports of some damage in the Downs area. But right now, this is the big guy that we really have to pay close attention to. Just down the line, Williamsville, you're technically just outside of that warning, but you guys want to be paying attention here because this thing has got that classic look to it. It's got that signature where right in that area there. Now, here's the good thing. There are people out there. We've got our crews that are out there that are following along with these storms and eyes out there, storm spotters, to let us know kind of what they're seeing. And again, just want to tell everybody, you can also watch our coverage on our app that we're streaming on there. We're on social media. So if you have to go take shelter, you can take your phone with you. You can go to your safe space and kind of, still watch the coverage here as well. And so here's the airport, Springfield. This storm is going to be well north of you. This will not impact the greater Springfield area, but the extreme northwestern Sangamon County, that storm there south of the Salisbury area, you're going to want to watch that as that kind of hugs right along the county line there. We'll watch this kind of hover right there in the far northern portion of the county over the next kind of 15 to 20 minutes as this thing is moving at a pretty good clip. We've had these at 40 to 50 miles per hour, but that's the storm of highest concern that we've got here at this point. And so, Jacob, people out there that are following along with this here, maybe some of them are wondering, okay, I got a tornado warning. What do I do? Where do I go? Kind of things. Maybe let us know, kind of some of those tips when we were in this kind of bad weather.
Yeah, so real quick, wanted to mention, Kevin, while you were running down there and running on the green screen, I was getting a bunch of text of information. We've got a report of a low scud, which are clouds that are not necessarily attached, but can sometimes be signs of if they're being pulled into the storm, and then also possibly a wall cloud on the storm that's just northwest of Springfield there. So what I want to do real quick is see if we can grab, there's Kevin real fast, see if we can grab our camera up real quick, and we may need to do that on the Max 1, Amelia Henderson also here too. We've got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. And so we're going through all of this information, but we'll pull up the Springfield camera real quick and look at that so I can take care of something else behind the scenes here. There it is. We're going to watch to the north and to the west where this particular storm is and where it's going. And so that's something that we will continue to monitor here and keep our eyes on for the area. Let's keep an eye on that. And we've got, of course, multiple units in the field. I've heard from Max, I've heard from Marty and Dan, and we've also heard from Jack on the air, all keeping us updated with what's going on with this tornado warning as we continue to monitor things here. Now it's crossed past Athens, moving to the north side of Springfield towards Sherman and places like that. So we've got lots of eyes on things. It's coverage you won't get anywhere else in central Illinois, as we can keep you updated in the studio and in the field with full team coverage. The time now, of course, being 6:52. Let's go ahead and bring our camera one up here, and I'll talk about some of the things that are going on in the tornado path. You look downstream. This is going to be for parts of towards like Sherman, southern Logan County, potentially 30 to 45 minutes ahead. If you're in a mobile home downstream, that'd be Sherman north and east. You want to get out and head to a sturdier shelter and be ready to go here. We're talking to folks downstream from that again. Make sure that your phone is charged and that you've arranged your safe place and have your plan ready to go. You find your flashlight, and of course you check your WCI3 weather app. The app right now, we are streaming there. If you're on your safe place, you're in shelter, you could listen to us on the app and listen to our coverage here as we continue to bring you information here. Let's talk now more about the tornado warning. We've talked a little bit about what's downstream. We want to mention now this is Athens, Sherman, and Williamsville. Not officially in the warning, Williamsville. Right on the edge there, but at this point the storm is heading your way, and so we want you to proceed to your safe place, again, out of a mobile home, out of cars. There should be no driving on Interstate 55 from Springfield towards Lincoln. There should be no driving towards Petersburg or out towards Ashland even as the storm moves on through. We'll continue to give you all clear here, but if you're in that warning, remember the three words: in, down, and up. Inside, most interior room of your home. Down as low as you can, a basement, a crawl space, or down inside a bathtub even. Covering up with blankets, pillows, mattress. A bicycle helmet is also great advice. As a meteorologist in Mississippi for a number of years, and down there I met kids who were affected by tornadoes. Their homes were blown away. They had a helmet on. It saved their lives. It sounds silly. Kids, grab your bicycle helmets. So that's a great thing to put on here and build that pillow fort. So as we watch the coverage here, of course, online. Then let's talk about tornado safety. Where's a great place to be and where's maybe not a great place to be? Worst place to be, no cars, no mobile homes, no manufactured homes. Not even under a highway overpass. Those are all very dangerous places. Still, even worse areas to be include large open rooms or manufactured housing. By large open rooms, think of your big box marts. You go to the store, you can go there and to watch things. You don't want to be inside one of those. That open span room, church auditorium, places like that. Those places often will collapse first. There's not a lot supporting the structures. There's a few poles here and there, but the tornadoes can rip those roofs off, even in strong winds. Well, a great place to be, interior room or a basement of a well-built building. Maybe you have a tornado shelter or a specific safe room at work. Those are another best case place to be here if you are in the tornado warning. You think about the places that you'll want to shelter here, moving on down. Real quick, we'll go back to radar and watch things here. A lot of folks watching not impacted by things right now. If you're watching us in Effingham, Mattoon, Charleston, Tuscola, Paris, Danville, even down towards Casey, off to the west, Pana, Shelbyville, Taylorville, Litchfield, Carlinville, so far, the name of the game for you has been nothing. We've been quiet down there. It's this batch of storms along the warm front that's concerning us here, particularly now as it moves to the north and northwest side of Springfield, north of Capitol Airport, not by much as it's heading that way. I do want to take a real quick check, Kevin, before I send it back to you, and we'll bring it full screen so you can come back and drive things here, is I want to take a look at the big picture. More to come. Look at this. More supercell thunderstorms developing west of Springfield, west of St. Louis, south of Quincy, west of Springfield even. This line right here will have to be watched for a damaging wind and tornado threat as it moves off to the east. And these storms will likely affect areas that are not under any type of immediate warnings right now. So it will be a long night of warnings as we continue to monitor things through here. Let's go ahead and bring the graphics full so we can reset and get people where they need to be and check things out here. We've got that warning now again. We haven't given a lot of love up in Fisher, Rantoul, Penfield. The severe thunderstorm warning there is for 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that's about what we expect. Not really looking at much hail there, but we've had a number of viewers, Kevin, say on the chat. I've got a number of texts from friends that the wind picked up with that as those storms have rolled on through. The rain also is something we may need to watch for a flash flooding potential up there, Kevin.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, as a matter of fact, I was just got a text from my wife who in Mahomet, and she said that the power went out there for a brief period of time up there in Mahomet. Possibly some of those outflow winds from some of the storms that are coming through. So even if the radar, as you can see, here, the radar, it's not really doing anything, Muhammad, but you still get these winds as these storms, basically, they send these winds out, the outflow of these winds, and that can cause those winds to kick up and, maybe a power line or a tree. All right, so here's the thing. This storm's still looking very intense, and this is going to be so there's the Springfield Airport, the Capitol Airport, right there. You guys maybe have a couple sprinkles there, but just to your north is where that potential tornado is located. That thing is going to be now crossing over Highway 29 and eventually heading towards the Sherman area. As we mentioned, Williamsville not in the tornado warning, but this has a direct line in your direction, so you need to be taking shelter. All those great tips that Jacob just gave you, was telling you about where to go, you definitely need to be doing that. So the big question is going to be with the Weather Service, whether they're going to carry this warning a little bit further to the north and east. And so they've kind of trimmed it down. It's a small little polygon now, just this very small area, and we can take you right down in. What I'm going to do is we're going to shut off the boxes that talk about all of the warning stuff because we know where that is. But I just want to show you exactly where this is. And so right along Highway 29 and 124, okay, so this is where you need to be taking shelter, where there could be that quick little spin up of a tornado. And I know many of you that are watching here tonight, from Champaign or over in Decatur right now, and nothing's going on in Danville, or nothing's going on down in Charleston, Mattoon yet. Your time is potentially coming here over the next several hours. The tornado watch goes all the way until 1 a.m. So this could be a kind of a late night here. We're going to have this first little batch kind of move through, probably through our northern counties here, north of I-72. But we've got to watch this other activity that's going to be coming out of Missouri. And that's where we're going to get some of these additional warnings, we think, as we go throughout to the course of tonight. The reason that we're on right now, doing live severe weather coverage, tornado warnings are in effect. Tornadoes life-threatening, damage to people, property here, and so we're on informing our viewers here of this. I know that some of you are expecting some of the regular CBS programming, like 60 Minutes and some of the other shows here, but as long as we've got tornado warnings that are in effect, we will be on passing along this information so that people can take shelter and do what they need to do to protect their families from this life-threatening situation that we've got here with their tornado warning. Now, I will say this. If the tornado warnings no longer are going to be in effect, we will pass our coverage over to just streaming online on our social media channels, on our WCI3 weather app. We'll be doing that as soon as this tornado warning, if they drop this warning, we will go to that avenue to continue the coverage when there are just maybe some severe thunderstorm warnings. But right now, we're still watching this warning here. And it is going to be in effect until 7:15. So for about another 15 minutes, we're going to be watching this area here, see if this kind of kicks up a little bit more. And right now, this warning, we're going to see if they carry this into portions of Logan County or not. That would be kind of the next wave of counties here, because we've got Sangamon right here and the storm's going to the north and east. There's Lincoln. That's where the Weather Service is located, who is in charge of issuing these tornado warnings. And so they're going to have a really good idea whether or not they're going to carry this to the north and east or not here, probably very, very quickly. And then when they do, they're either going to extend it or they're going to drop it, and then we can adjust our programming as needed. But right now, there is still that potential for a tornado right here in extreme northern portions of Sangamon County right now. North of Springfield is not, in fact, impacting the Springfield area here right now, but this storm is still going to be heading towards Williamsville before too long. There's Fancy Prairie. And again, every time you hear that, maybe that sound in the background, a lot of times that's the Weather Service issuing some kind of an update. And I believe we've got an update with this. And I believe they've canceled that one severe thunderstorm warning that we had a little bit earlier. But look at this gigantic severe thunderstorm warning all in that whole area there as well. So a lot going on in a lot of different areas here. And Jacob, you've got Springfield there behind you on our camera view as well.
Yeah, I wanted to pull that up. I wanted to pull that up. We can look at Springfield while we're here, and something to mention while we're looking at it. The severe thunderstorm warning for Champaign and McLean and Vermilion counties has been dropped. There still likely is some 40 to 50 mile an hour gust in there based on damage that we've heard from McLean County, some trees and power lines damaged there from straight line winds, and also some small hail. There was a report of dime-sized hail. I wouldn't expect much more than that, but it seems pretty obvious to me that the line there is to the north of the warm front. And so it's in colder air. Sometimes in those environments, you can get a little bit of hail in that. So that's not all that surprising. Of course, we're watching on our sky cam here in Springfield. We've got Jack Griffin. He's out there in the storm to the west there near Springfield watching it. While we've watched Jack on the right, we'll talk more about on the left here where the warm front is. I think that's key. Temperatures have come up already in Champaign-Urbana at 62. But the warm front itself is still a little further to the south here. You see Springfield now at 65. It was at 70 just a minute ago. There's some rain moving into Capitol Airport that is helping to bring down that temperature. But you can see that yellow line right there. It seems to run from near Springfield over towards Decatur, sitting at 70, and then curves off here somewhere between Mattoon, Charleston, and Champaign, where that warmer air is in place here. This is what we watch, and we thought maybe there'd be a little bulge northward, and that may be happening, which will put Decatur and be close to Champaign. We'll see how close it gets, but where these severe thunderstorms are, that strong wind was, it's 52 in Bloomington, and that's not really conducive for any tornadoes. You're getting a little hail and some wind up there, so we recognize that there are gusty, breezy winds coming with this line through the area, Kevin. The dew points also show pretty well where that warm front is sitting, and you can see that sharp contrast from the blues to the yellows there. Along that warm front sits the storm we're looking at. And that's something that we have to watch closely as it rides that warm front. There's a lot of shear and energy in place that can help take advantage of, and it can help generate those storms that produce. And you see here to the north, we've got an east wind. To the south, we've got a south wind. That's the dividing line of the warm front there, Kevin, as we continue to watch it. Of course, still watching this storm here. It's on Williamsville's doorstep. You've got Williamsville, up here is Elkhart, then Lincoln, and you slide off to the east. You've got Lake Fork, Cornland, places like that, where if a new warning comes out, Kevin, maybe heading in those directions. So that's something that we're going to continue to monitor here as we watch this tornado warning, which goes for a few more minutes. But we're running out of real estate, so the National Weather Service will be making a decision very shortly on what's going to happen downstream. Elkhart, Lincoln, Mount Pulaski, Lake Fork, Cornland, Sherman sit here. The southern Logan County would be next in line for it if a warning is extended, and we'll wait and see. I have a feeling that they'll probably will extend it, but I'm not 100% confident in that, Kevin, and you might be able to chime in with what we're seeing here. Of course, we continue to watch Jack now on the left of your screen, and we're watching radar here. It's on the line. That warm front is close enough to where I think that it may help some of the rotation continue, and we're going to see here whether they extend that warning. We may very well be out of coverage here in a little bit, Kevin. In fact, it looks like maybe the warning was dropped there. And so whenever you're ready, Kevin, I can send it to you and we can talk more about what we're looking at. This storm, though, even though it looks like the warning's dropped, Kevin, still has to be watched. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it really does. We're going to have to be keeping a close eye on the storms here. So, as I promised, if the tornado warning was going to get canceled early, if they've dropped it, if they're not going to carry it on, we're going to jump off of our television programming that we've got here, okay? But I don't want you to let your guard down here, because I think this is the beginning. We may get just a small little break here before we get more additional tornado warnings that are going to affect. So we're going to watch Lincoln. We're going to watch Logan County here. We're going to watch that area. Here's the thing. We could very well have to cut back in if tornado warnings get issued once again. But we are going to continue our streaming coverage online. You can go to our WCA3 weather or news app. We're streaming right now on all of our social media channels as well. So if you're still being impacted by these storms, want to know what's coming up next, I encourage you to head over to those platforms, because we're going to continue on there. Of course, we've got the whole weather team in here with Jacob. Jack's out there in the field. Amelia's in here as well on social media, reading your post and gathering information for us. We've got our crews out there going to be out here all night. Again, that tornado watch all the way in effect until 1 a.m. But boy, a massive, large, severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued, and this covers a huge area there, Jacob.
Yeah, it does, and that warning does not have a tornado possible tag with it either. That's something to mention. I think it's north of the warm front, Kevin. It's right close to it, but in that general direction that carries off to the north and east, maybe, fingers crossed, the tornado threat from this particular storm, Kevin, is going down. But we've got to watch those storms downstream, Kevin, so we'll be here throughout the night.
We will. So go over to our other platforms, and we're going to continue our coverage on there. In the meantime, for now, on WCIA, we're going to drop off there, send you back to the regularly scheduled programming. But again, our coverage continues on our apps and all of our social media platforms. We'll be back throughout the night. I have a feeling we may be cutting in again at some point before even our 10 o'clock newscast. So thanks for joining us here tonight. Stay safe out there, and we'll have much more, again, online and on our apps. All right, thanks for those of you who are still here with us watching on our live streams. We see many of you that are still hanging along here with us as well. We just got a brand new, just huge honking severe thunderstorm warning that covers a very large area here all the way into McLean County. For the second time, you guys have another warning up there in DeWitt, and you can see just how large this is as this line comes through. And Jacob, so we don't have necessarily the largest tornado threat, and a lot of it has to do with the position of where this storm is now located relative to where maybe the storms were earlier that maybe had a little bit more of the tornadic threat. So talk a little bit about how this kind of varies and is a little different from the other warnings that we've had.
So when we look at these warnings, Kevin, this is primarily a severe thunderstorm warning without a tornado possible tag. The tag is a new way that the National Weather Service can add extra information to a severe thunderstorm warning, and in this particular case, it does not have that. Sometimes it has a tag on there that says tornado possible. We had that first in Morgan and Cass counties early on, and when that happens, it's almost the step before a tornado warning. It's the first heads up. So that's why we watch it here. We want to talk about the warm front real quick, so we'll go ahead and bring my graphics full on camera 2, please. And this warm front here, sitting right here, that storm now is starting to slip into southern Logan County, and on a northeastward trajectory, it may be outrunning the warm front. If that happens, you're moving into cooler air, more stable air at the surface. Lincoln sits at 56 right now, and if I remember right, that warning does include a lot of Logan County for that particular reason. So we're seeing some wind, maybe even a little hail at this point start to pick up with that storm. Further south, Taylorville, Effingham, Mattoon, Decatur, Paris, sitting in the upper 60s and low 70s. Champaign now up to 65. And if you peek outdoors right now in Champaign-Urbana, you look at the clouds, they are moving quickly. A sign that there's change coming here. The warm front continues to be the focus along and south of it for severe weather. To the north of it, cooler air is in place, but that means the flooding threat probably picking up a little bit, especially since what we've seen here in the region. There it is. The warm front now maybe getting really close to Champaign-Urbana, and we just got a new, nope, nothing.
New tornado warning, but it is going to be down in Missouri.
Missouri, okay. I saw you move your hand there real quick, and I was like, oh, what's that? Is that us? So we're watching. You hear that beep in the background. Meteorologists, we have nightmares about that when those alerts go off, because that's a sign that the word tornado is used in its text. It doesn't mean there's a tornado, but it just means that that's information we need to listen to. So you hear that a lot on TV. Like, what's that annoying sound? That's what that is. So there's the warm front. Back to that. It may be encroaching the Champaign-Urbana metro area. Of course, 64 dew point. That's a sharp contrast from a 48-degree dew point in Watsika. So you get the idea where the warm, unstable air is here in central Illinois, right along Interstate 72, 74, and points to the south. And so that's very much where we'll have to watch. Again, the wind direction really helps to show it here. I'd like to suggest that it's close to Champaign-Urbana, also based on the wind. South wind here to the south of the front, and east wind to the north of it, and that's not surprising, and we see that warm front developing. This is the severe thunderstorm warning here that's in effect. It does include it includes all of Logan County. We'll go with that for now. It does not include Decatur. It does not include areas south of Springfield. It does not include even Bloomington, Normal, or Clinton. This is US 51 right here, and we see areas to the east of US 51, Clinton, Farmer City, Hayworth, places like that, still on the cooler side of things, but there's some clearing down here where this front is. So we're just going to watch at this point and be optimistic. We can keep this in an east-northeast direction away from the front. If the warm front catches up to it, that may increase the tornado threat again. So give you a little idea of what we're looking at here with this particular storm. And it's just close enough where it deserves the extra attention, but I do want to mention that overall, this is not the only batch of storms that we need to watch. If we can, let's go ahead and bring Max 1 full for me, and that way I can drive the radar a little bit while we watch behind the scenes, and Kevin works on some other things here. We're watching this storm here in the Lincoln-Springfield Interstate 55 corridor. That's the main concern at this point, but you'll notice on the left edge of your screen, some more of those boxes are creeping on in. Those are firmly in the warm sector and will be potentially producing tornadoes or damaging winds, I should say. And I'll go ahead and slide on over a little bit to the west so we can peek at them here for you and get an idea of where they are. They're still in Missouri. They're a couple of hours away, but the more south we go, the better things are going to look here for the severe threat, which is a little higher than, say, where we're up in McLean, Ford, Iroquois, Livingston County, where the rain is coming on down. So let me bring the radar and show you the regional view of it here. You can see that line of storms, a number of tornado warnings in Missouri and southeast Missouri even, Kevin. Yeah, so you're probably looking at some of those there. A bit of an active night based on what we're looking at on Storm Tracker Doppler. These storms in particular will have to be watched. The general trend that I see here from south of Quincy, that'd be Bowling Green towards Montgomery City, Jefferson City, it looks more linear in nature, which may help bring the tornado threat down a smidge. I don't want to discount it. I don't want to rule it out. That may mean a more damaging wind threat in a linear mode. That's something that we watch and keep our eyes on, but that still is a couple of hours away here from arriving in central Illinois. Let's show a little love to the flooding threat. That often is overlooked, and we've learned this year in particular, the flooding threat cannot be discounted. We've had several events this summer with flooding from catastrophic rains in parts of central Illinois, particularly McLean, DeWitt, and Ford counties before. These same areas are under a flash flood watch through Monday morning. And that's a bit concerning here. The excessive rainfall risk from the Weather Prediction Center puts today and tonight, the rest of the night, a moderate, the red area, that's a 3 out of 4 on a scale, risk for flash flooding from Decatur to Champaign to Danville and points to the north. That's something we really need to watch and keep our eyes on. And, we don't want to discount that. In fact, while I've got the chance here, I'm going to go ahead and pull the graphics back full. You're going to see some things change, and we're going to get the rainfall totals to adjust and populate in the area, because I have a feeling they're going to climb very quickly in McLean, Ford, Iroquois, and Livingston County as those updates come on in. First off, you can see out to the west there, we'll go to the highest amounts. That's been Morgan, Cass, Sangamon County. With the rain this morning, the 3 to 5 inches, we're seeing some storm totals now indicating 5 to 7 inches, if not a little higher, from Maridoja, Orangeville towards Jacksonville. And the rainfall totals do taper down a little bit, but they're still in the 3 to 4 inch range from Springfield towards Auburn, north of Waverly out by New Berlin and the Sangamon County Fairgrounds. So a lot of rain in a short period of time there. Rainfall totals so far today, we've had a number of viewers report from areas north of Interstate 74, 1 to 2 inches before this round came on through. And we're estimating in some spots here, we're looking probably close to the 1 to 3 inch range as we get some data to populate here for you. Bloomington at 2.7 right now. Here looking off to the south of Piper City, 2.5 inches. And those numbers will climb. The forecast of 2 to 4 inches in this area with locally higher amounts is on target. And the reason for that is all of the rain that we're watching move into these areas. No warnings, no flash flood warnings. But you see the general trend here over the last hour is that when I loop this here, a lot of that rain coming over the same areas. Maybe a slight southward movement with it, but you can almost see at the same time as the leading edge moves south, you almost see some movement to the north and east there. And that movement to the north and east is the warm front trying to push rain in that general direction. So a lot of shear is present along that boundary, but I'm not worried about a tornado risk with this. But you can kind of see how we're pumping moisture over the warm front, helping to generate more moderate to heavy showers and thunderstorms, which may add to those rainfall totals. So that's something that will concern me. Something that may play to our favor a little bit, Kevin, too, is with that general southward movement that I see there in Champaign-Urbana, if it keeps in that direction, that might push the warm front a little more south or prevent it from going any further north. We're going to watch that particular thing closely here. Is that the warm front really in the neighborhood for us here? Kevin, you're looking at some of the storm damage reports, and I don't know if you're ready to take it for a minute.
Yeah.
You can talk to us about some of the reports that we've seen from storm spotters, from the public and whatnot, of hail and wind damage from those earlier storms.
Yeah, that's right. We had the storms that came through earlier up near Jacksonville and the Litterbury area, and they actually had some tree and power line damage that was reported over there. Also, they had some hail. Looks like some 1-inch size hail was also reported with those storms. That came through. And this is with kind of the first initial wave as we were watching those storms kind of come out of Missouri into west central Illinois, and they definitely packed a punch. If we're able to switch over to our Max, or either our Max 2 or, yeah, there we go. And you can see those are the reports that came in. That was about 6:17 p.m. for the wind damage and 6:44 there with the hail reports that came in. And what we'll do is we'll kind of back it out and see if we see any other. I don't think we've got a whole lot we haven't had too many other reports, for the exception of actually up here in Bloomington. We talked about some possible damage reports up around the Downs area, but when we go on and query this wind report, they had a 55-mile-per-hour wind gust at the actual, what's called the AWOS. It is the official weather station that they have at the BMI, the Central Illinois Airport there. And so they actually clocked a 55-mile-an-hour gust. And again, I think that goes along with some of the damage that was reported down in the Downs area, well ahead of these other storms that were really the ones that were standing out more. But you had some of these winds that got mixed down and some outflow from some of these storms, and we had that 55-mile-an-hour gust earlier there into the Bloomington area. The good news is we don't have a lot of these little icons here in our area, but take a look back here. We'll look into Missouri, all of those tornado reports that they've had. Now, the question is going to be, what's going to happen with these storms here, okay, that are going to be coming out of eastern Missouri and into western Illinois? The storms, each one of these severe thunderstorm warnings have what's called the tornado possible tag associated with them. And so we're going to have to watch these, because this is essentially going to be our next show if these storms can maintain themselves and move into the area. And as I just kind of look at some other things, off the air here, there is some instability that is still out there that these storms can kind of tap into. There's a lot of shear that also these storms can run into, which basically can really aid the development of some of this. But we're going to have to see just how much of that instability can still kind of make it in here tonight. You lose that as you get into the late night hours and, darkness falls. So we'll see how much of that sticks around, and that will play a big role into what this kind of next wave of storms is going to do. And as Jacob talked about earlier, just a ton of rain from this and that flooding potential that exists. I mean, there are some areas that, already picked up 2 or 3 inches with some of the stuff from early this morning. So very saturated grounds, wet grounds out there, and you're throwing on top of that even more rain. And boy, I tell you, I don't know what it is about the McLean County area this year, but they've just got absolutely pummeled with so much rain. They had like 12, 13 inches on, over the course of a few days up there, and now they're getting it once again. So flooding, a big issue up there, especially north of I-72 and I-74 with this activity that's up there. So be on the lookout. There's Lincoln right now. We'll be curious to see what the guys there at the Weather Service office are going to clock out of this storm that's going to come right over their Doppler radar. So the radar that you're seeing on the screen there, the data coming from that Doppler, that's located there on the east side of Lincoln, where the National Weather Service is located, who's responsible for issuing those warnings and whatnot. Did get another hail report that just came in from Petersburg from earlier. This is at 6:45. They had some 1-inch size hail over there as the storms came through. So a little bit of hail in there, and now we're watching these storms move off here to the north and east with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. A lot of heavy rainfall there in Clinton. There's Decatur, seeing a few storms. There's one little guy north of Booty. There's another near Maroa. And let me just throw in the lightning on this again. You can kind of see the area of concentration with lightning. You even got some of those strikes there into portions of Champaign County, northern Macon, DeWitt County there, and that storm that probably has the most right there coming into Lincoln right now. So in the next 15 minutes, we'll see what the guys clock there on with the weather station located there in Lincoln here before too long. And we'll just kind of see. But these are going to be north of that warm front now where those temperatures, let me see here, the temperature in Decatur's at 70, in Lincoln it's 56. So a big difference there. The temperature in Champaign's at 65. Of course, that's at Willard on the south side of town and down near Savoy. And Rantoul, it's 58. So you can see a big kind of temperature difference, 72 degrees in Taylorville right now. So that front really, kind of just making its way through the area, surging a little bit to the north in some spots. And so that will really kind of play a role. So here's what we're looking at is, as these storms here, okay, come to the north and to the east, they're going to come down here where we've not had a whole lot yet, okay? And so we're going to watch and see if these storms can hold together. And if they do, they're going to have their eyes set on maybe southern Sangamon County and to portions of, maybe Christian County there, down the line Shelby, Moultrie, Coles County. You guys haven't really had anything yet. So we're going to be watching this area all along through here for maybe additional storm development, if those storms can hold together as they come out of Missouri here tonight. But we're not seeing a whole lot of other reports. They had some of those reports up near Pekin. Looks like some tree limbs down up there with those storms. Again, those are well north of the front as those come through. So you just kind of never know with these storms. But there's the strongest storm probably coming right over the Lincoln Weather Service office. You see this little dead area here, the cone of silence here. Essentially, you don't get the data right there immediately around the radar site. Basically, we have to filter it out because it would be hitting all the buildings, and it would just look like the worst storm ever. And so you basically filter that part out there, but you get the idea that storm is coming right over the Weather Service office area, and we'll see what those guys encounter as the storm comes upon them. The good news is no tornado warnings here, and even the warnings coming out of Missouri, at least in our immediate area, the storms that we'll have to keep a close eye on currently don't have any tornado warnings associated with them. They've got that tornado possible tag there. But as of right now, that is not the case with this. So we're just going to kind of watch this, see if any other additional storms can fire. I'm going to take a look at some of the other model data here and see what it's kind of showing here over the next little bit. Jacob, you got anything over there?
Yeah, let's go ahead and just bring Max 1. Oh, please. There we go. And we'll just roll with this on the screen. I kind of look at things, and there's a couple of things happening. It looks like the storms are weakening. It really does. But the caveat is when I zoom in on it, we're going to really get to identify something that is showing up. And you see it pop up there, that little dot. So the storm itself is now sitting over the radar, and it likely now is not giving us a proper look at it. I think regardless, when I say that, first off, I mean that in the sense of the rain and wind part. If there was a tornado there, we'd know. But this is north of the warm front. So it looks like it's weakening, but I think it's holding strength and becoming more elevated, which will allow for perhaps the hail threat to grow a little bit and perhaps still allow for some wind to mix on down. But I'm not overly optimistic on this warning being extended on the current trends. It doesn't mean in the rest of the real estate through Logan County, maybe it looks like it'll strengthen a little bit. But I kind of get the idea the more north we are, the less intense it's going to be. Sometimes when we look at things, lightning can be an indication. There's plenty of it to go around up there. McLean, DeWitt, Logan, Menard County is seeing a good dose of it. And that's going to continue its progression off to the north and to the east. But you get the idea that there's going to be some more heavy rain there. McLean County, perhaps eventually Ford, maybe northern Champaign, in that general direction where this heads. So we'll watch and see. And they've kept the warning behind for Menard, Southern Mason, and northwestern Sangamon County. I'm inclined to think we're just going to run the clock out on it here, and I think it expires in about 5 minutes or so for that one. The one ahead of it there in Logan County is going to expire in 20 minutes. It's at 7:45. And I'll pop up some of the data so you can see what I'm mentioning here. There's two different polygons. There's the first one. Really think the threat's pretty much done for Springfield, Petersburg, maybe even Athens. Yeah, there's some rain there, but I'm not overly concerned about those storms at this time. Probably some hail up to quarters and maybe some strong wind gusts with a storm to the east of it. And I do want to mention why I say for now, Springfield, it's good. Petersburg, Athens. We've watched the warm front and we've watched the next round of storms. That's the one caveat today. Here's the next warning downline. This is for the Logan, Macon, McLean, Sangamon counties. Includes all of Logan County. It's also going to include parts of DeWitt County. That warning goes until 7:45, so we've still got some time to analyze this storm and see what it does. But I get the suspicion that maybe we're going to get a little bit of a break before the next line moves on in. And so that's something that we're going to watch and keep our eyes on here as this storm continues its progression to other things. You really see that there, that circle right underneath the O and L in Lincoln. That's where the radar sits. It's out to the east side of town there by the, just to the east as you headed east towards Clinton and the highway there. As it goes overhead, you see it kind of look like it gets weaker. The radar being basically refracted and bent out of shape. And so it kind of dilutes it in a way, is the way to think of that. So when it gets back off it, we'll look more at that. Okay, western warning just came out, that severe thunderstorm warning for Cass, Mason, Bernard, Sangamon, Tazewell. That's the west box of the two polygons we have, is going to expire. You'll see it disappear in 3 minutes, if not a little quicker than that. We're going to keep the other warning in place through at least 7:45, unless they cancel it, or maybe they'll trim it back even. And so we'll watch and see what their decision is. But mainly now it looks to be a bit of a wind and hail threat as it continues to the north and east. And how much longer that goes, we're not quite certain as it gets north of the warm front. The air just not as suitable for that. Let's take a look at hail size and see if we can spot anything here. It may be a little tough, and so I'll back it up. You can see the storm earlier, maybe it had a little hail, but there's nothing that really is standing out to me, even as I look over the loop. So that's a good sign here. Maybe we're looking at maybe some pea size mixing on in. And then we'll go ahead and look at the base, the velocity, the reds and the greens to figure out what's going on, and continue to watch things here. So that's something that we're going to continue to monitor. See some of those reds there? The reds in particular, we look at radar. Red means red away, going away, green going towards. Still looks like there's some inflows here down by Illiopolis. But whether or not that's actually making it into the storm remains to be seen. I really think it's too far north of the warm front now for anything more than just some wind and hail, and that threat seems to be a little minor. We're watching the winds kind of scooch out like that a little bit from that storm as it moves off to the east and north here at about 45 miles an hour or so. So we'll continue to watch this, and of course we continue to watch the storms off to the west. And Kevin, what's that?
I was just earlier when we caught that brief debris signature near Pleasant Plains. I was curious about any damage there, and somebody commented in the chat that they think there was a tornado touchdown in Pleasant Plains. So Faith, who sent that message, is that something that you can confirm? Has there been any damage there in Pleasant Plains? If so, let us know. I'm reading that there in the chat there, that Faith over there says tornado touchdown in Pleasant Plains. So if there is any damage, so this was earlier. What we can actually do is, so there's Pleasant Plains earlier, and you can take the radar and back it up there. And it's kind of on the southeast side there. And so actually right along 125 is where I think that was, right in that general area. And so I can't, if we can take it back, let's see if we can see it. Let's see. That was,
where's it at?
Probably,
here we go.
Right about there. Yep. Yeah, somewhere in there.
637 or so.
Yeah.
The one thing to mention too, Kevin, is while we look at that, I'll back this up. You look at where it was. There's a lot of farm fields there, so maybe it's just some dirt that got kicked up. Yeah. Maybe there's some debris. The leaves in the trees are turning a little fall-like, but at 637 or so.
It was it was a one scan thing that we definitely did see.
Yeah, and it was.
Maybe go to that.
I'd loved another scan to confirm that, but I saw that right away, and I wanted to let you know to get more eyes on it to understand what's going on. And what I'll do here is I've got to put 637. I'm going to flip back over to velocity, so we'll keep our eyes trained in that middle spot there. We'll go back to velocity, and I have to play the Well, there we go. 6.
Yeah.
38, 39, that may have been, there you go right before. You have it hit right there.
Yeah.
That damage, too, by the time it's detected on radar, is already happened. The debris up in the atmosphere. So it very well may be just to the west of that.
Yeah, just
south of Pleasant Plains,
south
and Pleasant
of
Plains
West.
Road there. But
The Claysville Town Historic Site.
it looks like there's a little lake under there, too. I'll back it up a bit. Or the little river. Some trees down there, maybe even, too. But I kind of think maybe we caught it, Kevin.
Yeah, there may. Yeah, I mean, there's a very brief, little tiny little scan there. That definitely occurred. So yeah, I mean that's definitely potential there. Let's see here. Getting in some additional wind damage reports. We had the one from Downs there. 60-mile-an-hour winds, tree damage in Downs and the Stanford area. Several trees and power lines down. How about that? The storms up there, that were well north of the front have I mean, that's the most damage reports I've seen out of any of the storms. The one up there in McLean County, well north of the warm front there.
Yeah, and we'll see, too, about the Jacksonville report on the south side there. They had some tree and power line damage reported. The north of the warm front, though, that kind of, I don't want to say baffles me, but I guess maybe, we had enough wind energy and wind shear to help mix some winds down. That will be straight line winds, though. I think that's a safe bet to say, especially by looking at radar and understanding what's happening, is that straight line winds. We had folks send messages from Gibson City, Foosland, Saybrook. Some of the messages said the wind was crazy. It was strong, it was breezy. And so certainly I would expect that to have been the case, where with straight line winds as we continue to watch that line move on through. The warning was only for McLean and Champaign County. National Weather Service in Chicago opted to not put that warning up for Fort County. Kind of borderline, if you want to suggest that, I guess, for what we're watching on. It looks like there's some other reports even in western Illinois that are sneaking on in here and there as well, Kevin, from Pike County from earlier in that tornado warning. So storms have done some damage today. So far, we kind of had that initial window, Kevin, where we were watching, things might form along the warm front. And that did pan out, and maybe we escaped through with relatively few problems. But now our attention's starting to slip off to the south and to the west as we flip on radar here to these next batches that are starting to sneak their way on in. So that's something that we're going to continue to watch and keep an eye on here. Of course, we're bringing you full team coverage. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy, meteorologist Jack Gerfen. We've got Amelia Henderson, and I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. And then we've got crews in the field. We've got Marty and Dan together. That's my dad from Gibson City. We've got Max out there. We've got Jack in the Storm Tracker. And we're bringing people coverage, Kevin, like no one else can do. And that's pretty cool with all of the technology and all of the abilities that we have, and continue to watch things. So I'm kind of checking to see. I haven't checked in with some of them for a little while. And I'm just sending a text here to get an update from one of the crews to kind of keep our eyes on it. At this point.
Yeah, these storms are weakening. So here's what I'm actually hoping for everybody's sake here is that that storm, as it's come out of Lincoln, there's weakened a little bit, and we may be able to maybe put a little pause on our coverage here and then wait for that next batch that's going to be coming out of Missouri and head into Illinois here. But we want to just kind of give you the very latest with this. We know storms are still kind of rolling through, but I don't know if they're going to continue that warning off to the east or not. As that
seems like it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, kind of up in the air there. We'll see. There's definitely a chance there, but as we're kind of looking at it, you're seeing a little bit less of the strong reflectivity coming back to us, but definitely seeing we've had a lot of rain. Wow, look at all that rain in Jacksonville, Morgan County there.
They got quite a bit. In fact, I just saw a report of vehicles swept off the road. That's in Schuyler County, near north of Rushville. That's west and northwest of Beardstown. But that's where some of the heaviest rain is.
7.7 inches? Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness.
So the one thing to mention about that, though, Kevin, while we look at that 7.7 number, probably about half of that did fall this morning, and we had a lot of time to dry things out.
Sure.
So you're not getting that all in one, but still, I'll loop this. I want to loop this here the last hour. Let's do last 3 hours. You'll watch those yellows and oranges kick on in, and usually in that yellow and orange range, you're starting to get into the 2, 3, 4 inch range, and it seems to be crossing to the east there. So I have a feeling that McLean eventually, and then perhaps Ford, Iroquois, Livingston County, maybe even northern Champaign and northern Vermilion County. Got more of that good heavy downpours coming their way, and we'll continue to watch that part too. And that's something we don't want to discount with the threat here, so we'll watch it and keep you updated on that. All right, let's take a look at some of the graphics real quick. Kevin, we're just waiting for the National Weather Service to officially drop the warning.
Yeah. I just that storm there. It just seems like it's weakening a little bit. Here's the thing. What's interesting is there's still actually some decent winds with almost all of those storms up there that are, kind of like what we saw earlier in McLean County, where it's like these, I don't know, let's call them phantom winds here, but north of the warm front enough. But like when we look at these colors here, okay, when you've got these kind of pinks and whatnot, they actually, that's showing maybe some 50-mile-an-hour winds. Now that's, a little bit off the surface there, but you've got some 40-mile-an-hour gusts that might be occurring just within some of these storms out there. So again, we're watching this whole area here, and hopefully we can catch a little bit of a break before this next little round comes in here that we've got. We're just going to see. Here's the good news. I did see something earlier from the Weather Service office. They were talking about how, they have not had any big damage reports, even with the activity there into parts of Missouri. Nothing huge. And we were thinking that, maybe there could be quite a bit of that, but, the night's not over here yet because those storms that are coming out of Missouri, still something definitely to keep an eye on and monitor here tonight. And unfortunately, it's, nighttime here. It's going to be dark. I'm not going to be able to see a whole lot, but we've got the storms that are currently right there pretty much, this is called it north of I-72 is where we've got storms now. And then nothing south of 72 until you get there close to I-70 coming out of Missouri, and that'll be kind of the next little wave there. So we've got the worst of the storms here right now with the warning in effect for Logan County. You've got portions of, I guess that does include DeWitt County there.
Yeah, just a sliver of it there, west of Clinton.
Sliver of it.
Yeah, Waynesville, down towards southwest of Clinton. I think that's going to be Kenny. That's
Kenny.
It. Yeah. There's a grain elevator there. That's about it.
We have a water tower from Kenny.
Do they have one? Okay.
Yes, we do have a water tower there.
I might be thinking of southwest of Farmer City there, the little town. That's okay. I feel like I'm filibustering here, Kevin, till we officially drop it and the severe threat goes down a little bit. I will say, though, we've gotten some messages about the thunder and how it constantly rumbled, and especially where we've had some of these storms go through. When you get instability that's elevated, you can really generate some storms, and if that sound makes it, it traps it below the inversion, which is a change in temperature. There's cold air at the surface, but there's still plenty of unstable air aloft, and that can sometimes help to make things sound a little more ominous in particular days, especially when we're talking about storms that are fueled by instability and not by wind shear. Sometimes we have storms that are driven by wind shear. You need instability really for lightning and thunder. And so we've had a few times, even, the summer, Kevin, where we've just had a little wind shear and it's been a rain shower and we trap a tornado out of it. Today's storms are driven by the instability along and south of that warm front, and then elevated instability as well north of the warm front. We've been looking at the flash flood watch there. We'll bring the tornado watch graphic up also, and that goes until 1 a.m. Still in effect in the same counties. We expect it probably to stay that way for at least a couple of more hours as we continue to talk here and watch things. Likely, at this point, Kevin, I really suspect that we're going to get a little break here for all is said and done. That does not mean the threat is over. We kind of mentioned there may be a couple of rounds, or a couple of opportunities here. This is the warm front, but those storms now are to the north, but there will still be some gusty winds where you see rain in places. And I'll go ahead and bring the radar back up on my graphics here so we can take a peek at it. When we look at the rain, that may end up turning into more of a substantial threat for Ford, McLean, northern Champaign, northern Vermilion, parts of DeWitt,
they're
northern counties.
They're getting a bunch of new flood reports coming out of McLean County in the past 20 minutes.
There you go, yeah. And we'll bring up the Gibson City Skycam too, because it looks like there's a little cell sneaking out. We have a Bloomington one also. We'll check at that in a minute. Right now we're looking at Springfield, and things are a lot quieter than they were earlier. So let's pull up Gibson City real fast and take a peek from Gibson Area Hospital and Health Services. It looks like there's some rain coming down. I do not expect flooding in Gibson City like what we saw a couple of months ago. That does not appear to be the case. We seem to be spreading it out a bit more. There's a good flash of lightning there. But what we can see is still some of those low-lying areas can still pond. The normal areas, and normal in Gibson City, seems different now after that one catastrophic flood. But you think of the traditional areas, Melvin Street, generally there's some flooding in the ditch there, and you generally see a little water ponding in some spots and here and there. That's probably what we're going to look at here. This is Bloomington downtown, seeing some of the rain and low clouds there, and then we'll even take a look. Take a look at that. So there we are. So it looks like a couple of roads are closed in Bloomington. So seeing that report, Kevin, we may get a flash flood warning since it's observed flooding here in a little bit, and we'll see if that happens. That would be probably McLean County. They may carry it a little more south too. So we'll just wait and see if they pull that. It wouldn't surprise me at this point. It's something that we'll watch, and we continue to see the rain come on down in some of those same areas here. So it is 7:42. Let's hit the reset button. Let's talk about area wide real quick and talk about what we're seeing. We've just got one warning at this point, a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's for now Logan, northeastern Sangamon, western DeWitt, northwestern Macon County, southwestern McLean County. That's it. And that warning expires in less than 3 minutes. If it expires and no new warning's issued, we're taking a break. Kevin and I are going to go get some food somewhere. Or, get some wings or something. If they're,
wings sound
arm and a leg price these days. We're going to take a little break, and we'll continue to watch things behind the scenes, post some graphics. We will watch that next round and see how far north it's able to get and how far to the east it's able to get too. You see some of those polygons indicating severe and tornado warnings from St. Louis west and south. That may be a downstream issue for Interstate 70 corridor south of 72, and hopefully we can keep a little break in there, which some of the guidance suggested might happen from Interstate 72 north, which might keep the threat for Springfield Decatur down a touch. Not out of the woods, but we're watching the trends. We're just going to hit the reset button ourselves if that ends up being the case. We'll see if the flash flood warning pops. Remember, you can get those alerts on your phone for flash flood warnings, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings through our WCIA3 weather app. That's good news where you can stay connected. You can even take it with you, your phone with you, and the alerts will travel with you too. Maybe you're from Gibson City. In Gibson City, we like to go shopping in Bloomington or in Champaign. You can set your location to track my location. It will alert you if you're somewhere else. You can also set location. You got kids in school, campus somewhere, or family elsewhere. I watch for alerts in Nebraska and Colorado and down in Mississippi for some of my family and friends, and that's a great app to have. Yeah, I just saw they are letting the severe thunderstorm warning expire at 7:45. So that's some good news. If there's any more warnings, we may or may not cut back in. It does look like on some of the graphics here, maybe we have aerial flood advisories or something.
There's a bunch of flood stuff that are out now. And also they had a report earlier of some damage in Sherman, or a tree down in Sherman a little bit earlier. So we've got a few of those that are going to start to slowly roll in here. But there's also, interesting is they just put out basically a special weather statement for Vermilion County. And the only reason I laugh is because when you look at the radar there, that doesn't, look like, there's much there, but they're talking about 50-mile-an-hour winds that are possible in there. And you switch over, you look at the velocity. Okay, you get some of those brighter pinks in there. So you still got these. I'm just gonna call them phantom winds because they're kind of they're in the storms there that you may not normally think they would look that bad. But we've got it. I will say that storm coming into Monticello there between Monticello and Cisco is a little bit of an uptick on it there. We'll be watching that. But hey, look at that. No warnings.
There it is. Hey. Let's end this Canarble wagon and take a little break.
We're going to take a little bit of a break here. Let everybody, including our production crew and everybody, they still got to do newscast tonight.
Great.
Amelia's going to go get us some pizza, she said. And she's also going.
Wings. We all know that.
She's like,
his wallet real quick.
She's like, I'm going to get wings.
Where's
and
Kevin's
pizza.
credit card?
And
Buffalo wings?
Yeah, there you go. And then she's going to go to bed because
yes.
she has to be up for the morning show here as well. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of a break here, guys. I know, yes, there are still some storms out there, and you guys are still monitoring some of that. We're going to watch it too. If any of the other warnings come on, I will let you know. But we're actually going to stop the broadcast here, and then kind of reset things for when we have to go on again. So you'll get a new notification when we jump on again, and then and you guys will know, hey, we're back on, and there are more warnings that are in effect. But for now, we're going to pause things here, and then we'll jump back on if any other warnings get issued. So,
and if not, we'll see you at the news tonight at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, there you go.
WCIX.
9, 10 o'clock?
I think 10:30-ish. I haven't heard the official start time. We should be a little bit late because of football.
Late for football, so
CBS.
It's going to be a late night there. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us here. Appreciate all of you that stuck around. There's still 558 of you guys watching here, so I appreciate everybody still sticking with us here through all of the severe weather coverage here. Of course, we'll be back if any other warnings get issued. So we're going to go grab a bite to eat. You do the same thing, and then come back and join us again here before too long. All right, guys. See you soon.